What's going on, Facebook? This is David W. Williams, also known as Diamond Dave, and wanted to shoot this quick little video out to you. And this video is going to be for people that have thought about being involved in the financial markets. When we say the financial markets, we talk about like the stock market, investing. However, they've had certain questions about, themselves and getting involved in these particular markets, which turn into limiting beliefs, or sometimes we call like bad belief patterns. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to address some of these questions and give them some of the answers by kind of sharing some of my stories, because before I got into the markets, I also had limiting beliefs, or also what sometimes we call false beliefs about myself and about those markets. And the reason why we want to go ahead and get into this is because once you can get over these particular limiting beliefs or false beliefs, it can set you up and put you in a position to be successful. So the first belief that a lot of people have about getting in the markets, okay, is they believe that they're not smart enough. So they ask themselves the questions that, am I smart enough to have success in the financial markets? And the reason why they ask themselves, are they smart enough to have success, is that they may not have been the best student in school. They may feel like they don't have a college degree. They may feel like they don't have a terminal degree, which we say like a master's degree or PhD degree. And they also believe a lot of the signaling and a lot of the marketing they've gotten from society is that, which is really socialization, is that these college degrees and these credentials and these prestige badges are a representation of your intelligence and your smarts. And because they believe this, they therefore feel like, I don't have the intellectual capacity to go into a place like a financial markets, because from an intellectual standpoint, from a smart standpoint, I will not be able to stand up to the situation. And so as a result, they don't get involved. And let me tell you my experiences. I was a person that was never a great student. Okay, I was never on the honor roll. I was never the person that looked at that was going to have a lot of academic success. I graduated high school, but I had to go to night school to get out of high school because I was missing so many credits, because I had skipped so many hours of school that the only way I graduated in 4 years was to go to night school. Came out of high school, did not go directly to college. I didn't even start college until I was 27 years old. It took me 6 years to get a bachelor's degree. Therefore, I wasn't what you would call a model student or a superstar student or a really good person in school. However, that has nothing to do with your ability to understand the financial markets. What I want you to understand is this: a formal education is not a representation of how smart you are. A formal education is a representation that you have the ability to learn somebody else's education system, which is designed to solve their problems. Therefore, as a Black person, I don't give you any credit for having a formal education. In fact, you can be educated so to the point where I kind of wonder, can you relate to certain situations? However, don't accept this idea that because you don't have this formalized education and because you see these people on the internet and all they're talking about is what school they went to and what education they have, that means that you're not sufficient or you don't have what it takes to be successful in the financial markets. If you study me, I never talk about where I went to school and what my degree's in, because it doesn't matter. Because what matters is the results that I've been able to accomplish in whatever profession I'm involved in. Okay, so in every particular situation that I was involved in and what I was able to have success, the success is more important than the educational background that I have. And a lot of people leave with their educational background because they bought into this narrative that this is a prestige badge, this gives them some type of positional authority, and they're literally trying to program you to believe the same thing that they believe. However, that doesn't have anything to do with anything. So I've been able to have success in the financial markets. I'm a person with a bachelor's degree. It's not in finance. My bachelor's degree is not in mathematics, okay? And I've been able to get results because I learned what the right information was, and I focused on that right information. If you have this question about, I can't be successful in the financial markets because I'm not smart enough, I'm here to tell you that I don't come from the best educational background. I was a non-traditional student as a standpoint of going to college. I wasn't a great student growing up. And I've been able to have success because I tapped into the right information and I focused on that specific right information. And if you do the same thing, you can replicate and exceed my success. Now let's go into the second question a lot of people have, which is going to be, are the markets only for white people? And this is a really relevant question because when you cut on television, the MSNBCs, you cut on the Fox the Fox News, you come to Bloomberg, primarily what do you see? You primarily see nothing but tables full of white people, and they're talking about the markets. And over time, you start to believe that the markets are only for white people, okay? And a big narrative on the internet, especially for black people, is credit repair, go start a business, maybe buy some insurance. And we see these as ways to build wealth because we see people that look like us that keep repeating these particular messages to us. And there may be a few black people that you may have known that do invest, but they weren't encouraging you to move into that same direction that they were in for whatever reason. Okay, we don't want to go into that. And so therefore you start to believe that the financial markets are only for white folks, right? However, I was a person that believed the same thing. Growing up, I didn't really know anybody in my family that was really into the markets. My grandmother owned some Ford stock, and she just bought that Ford stock on a consistent basis, but she never really talked about it. She didn't talk about why she bought it. It was never a conversation that we had at the table. So I knew about like maybe money market accounts, CDs, but I didn't really know about investing. I didn't know about bonds. I didn't know about the futures market. You know, I didn't know about the commodities market. I didn't know about options. I didn't know about any of these particular spaces because, like I said, when I cut on television, all I saw being involved in these particular spaces was white people. So I just thought this was a space that white people were involved in, and they really weren't even going to allow black people to do it. The thing about the markets is nobody really even knows what color you are. You know, you're behind a computer, you're setting up your particular plays, you're doing what you need to do, and nobody knows what color you are. So therefore, racism is not really a barrier for you to be doing a certain level of investment in particular companies. Therefore, if you had this idea that you can't get involved in the markets and you think that's going to be a limiting thing to you because the market's only for white people, I used to think the exact same thing. However, I was able to get connected to a black person who taught me about the markets, and then I was able to connect to more black people who knew about the markets. And so then now what you have is you have a continuity of meeting more and more black people that are actually involved in the markets. And then you start to realize that it's not just a thing for white people, okay? So these are two limiting beliefs that a lot of people have about the markets. The first one is they're not going to be smart enough, okay? And we talked about how I wasn't a great student. I wasn't an honor roll candidate. I wasn't a person that people were looking at that was going to be a great academic success, but I was able to tap into the right information and study that right information, and I was able to create results of myself in the markets that were positive. Then we talk about how you may think that the markets are only for white people, and I can understand that because I used to think the same thing. However, I was able to get connected to a black person who was involved in the markets, and as a result, once I started to get an understanding of the space, I was able to connect to more black people. So therefore, if you connect to me, I can also connect you to black people, and you realize that there are a lot of black people involved in the markets. However, they're not prominent because the media doesn't really push them to the forefront. Now, we're going to discuss more limiting beliefs or more false beliefs that people have about the markets, but what I wanted to do was start with these two and continue to expand it because I know that a lot of people, and I'm talking about people, I mean working class black people, they hear about getting involved in the financial markets and they have these particular ideas about why that's not appropriate for them. And I wanted to go ahead and address those, deal with them, help us get some understanding about them so we can move past them and to put them in a big position to take advantage of this space. And what I also wanted to get into was an offer I have because I wanted to wrap up with an offer. So what I do is I teach option trading. And if you have a really basic understanding of the financial markets, you have a background in it. We're talking about the highest paying part-time job in the world. And what we mean by that is that when you learn how to trade options successfully, it allows you to get a really good return on your income in a really compressed amount of time. And so we have an example of a woman that I work with named Mecca Marber. She's up there in Chicago. She's a mother. She also works full-time. And she was able to make an options play to generate $135. And she did this by 9:30 a.m. in the morning. And that's why we call this the highest paid part-time job in the world. And the reason why I wanted to show you her screenshot is because I understand that we do have a lot of doubting Thomases in the world. It's been written that people are going to be doubting Thomases. So you have to learn how to deal with that particular emotion of people having a particular doubt about a certain thing, especially about certain people being able to have a certain amount of success. So I wanted to address that doubt that people may have that they can be successful in this particular space and they can be successful by having a black person teach this to them, that doesn't have a PhD in finance, okay? If you want to learn how to generate income with the highest paying part-time job in the world, reach out to me. I'm having a fire sale or a short-term sale on this particular program for $50. That sale will only last until the first of the year, and then the price will go up. If you have any questions about getting involved in the financial markets, or you want to connect with a bunch of Black people that can help you get involved in the financial markets, reach out to me. I'm not in the MLM. I'm not going to roll you to somebody that's part of an MLM. I'm not involved in any MLM type situation. It is not to be disrespectful or talk down on MLMs, but that's not what I'm about. I can connect you to Black people that can make sure you get a basic understanding of the financial markets, allow you to transform into a different person that understands the markets and understands the potential for you to build wealth for yourself and your children. And then you can move into this option training course that I have at a later date. So if you got any comments, put them in the comments. If you know somebody that has these particular questions, send this video to them to get those questions answered. And if you PM me with any further questions, I'll get back to you as soon as possible. This is David W. Williams, and I'll talk to you later.